Welcome to Milk Market Tidbit for the July 2023 Federal Milk Marketing Order data that was just released here the last couple days. This is Dr. Lawrence Jones with Farm Institute, and I'm recording this on Tuesday, August 15th. So I thought I would actually start with kind of showing you what the statistical uniform prices have been for Order 1 over time, because Order 1 is one of the few orders that doesn't do deep pooling very often. So it's what I would call the truest order, and it's also pretty much a blend of all the different classes, but that kind of gives you an idea. We've definitely had this big run up and we've had this big run down now. So one of the things I wanted to look at is if we look at the current statistical uniform price, how does it compare in history? So again, I'm going to ignore that big run up. And overall, I would say it's pretty close to the top. Now, we were a little bit higher in 2019, a little bit higher in a little bit of 2020 pandemic time. But overall, this is actually a pretty good price looking at history. But the problem is, once you have a high price, everybody gets used to it. And so we've actually come $8.75 off of that high. And so when dairymen look at the current prices, like, man, this really hurts compared to where we were. All right, so let's kind of zoom out and look at the big picture here. Again, for order was 1823. Statistical uniform prices are made up of a lot of components, and so it's hard to compare one versus the other, but Florida is 2192. And what's important to me is how they change. And so this is the overall. And so Minnesota, Wisconsin had the biggest change. They were down $1. And if we look at how the different classes came together, Class 3 was down $1.14, and so that makes sense because they're very high, almost 90% Class 3. Everybody else was in that, 40, 50, 60 kind of range now. Arizona actually came up, and that was kind of a deep pooling, kind of a strange sort of deal that I can't explain totally. But overall, looks like, weighted for the cows and the amount of milk down about 74 cents a hundredweight for the July federal milk marketing orders. So we look at the change in class 4 utilization because either 3 or 4 changes and they change, they reverse each other. You see there was not a lot of change in deep pooling. Now, Arizona did have the biggest change. Their class 4 utilization dropped by 4.7%, but overall, we're within 1-2%. So I would say deep pooling was not a big change from June. So if we look at the daily production, to me, this is the number one thing I try to take away from all of the different federal milk marketing orders. Turns out, weighted, we were down about 2%. So production is about 98% of what we've been. And we look across the regions, they all were about 98 or so, a little bit lower in the midsection, 94.5, a little bit lower in Arizona, which I think was that deep pooling kind of thing there, 90.7. But when I look across the majority of the cows, we're 98, 99%. So when I put together my milk production estimates, I'm going to use that 2% month over month decline in production. So this week we've got the global dairy trade, which is going on right now. I think it's down quite a bit. I haven't seen the final results, but I heard non-fat dry milk was getting beat up pretty bad. We are going to have the second national dairy sales report on Wednesday, which will help us kind of figure out where August is going. Okay, that's it for me.